All right, so the next pages we're going to be working on the back of page 5, front of page 6. So we're going to be using this page, and it's sort of special. It's got a couple of different layers. It's different than any other mini album page I've done before. And there is a shaker element. So I suggest you watch this whole thing first before you get started, because there may be some different options. There are also a couple of flaps on that page. This page, this is held down with a magnet, and then this will open like that. This will open like that. So you can put photos on the back of here, and that'll open like that. And you can put photos on the back of there, or you can even put photos on the fronts here if you wanted to cut them smaller and fit them in. Depends on how many pictures you have at this stage in the game. And that just gets held down with a magnet. So let's work on the back of page 5, front of page 6. All right, using the 8x8 paper pad, you'll take 2 of these and you will cut it down 1/4 of an inch smaller than the page size. So make sure both of these are cut the same size. Okay, and now we're going to cut some of the rectangles out of both of these. Just wait, in a little bit you will see a still shot showing you what is cut out of both pieces. Okay, here you're simply going to repeat the process. I just suggest you look and see exactly where you've cut the other one, because you want it to match up as close as you can. So again, cut right above the Hip Hip Hooray, and right below the Hip Hip Hooray on the bottom, and on the stitch lines on the side, just so these 2 pieces match up. At the end of this, you can look and you'll see the pieces, and you can tell exactly which rectangles I cut out of each one. All right, so this is what we have so far. This is going to be the base page. It's going to go on the base. This only has 3 holes cut in it. This one is going to go on top of that, and it's got 5 holes left, 6 holes cut in it. So what we're going to do is layer this up, and we're going to add some, so you can use a couple of things. You can use chipboard, you can use dimensional adhesive, you could use fun foam cut in small strips. I'm going to use some chipboard that I've cut in small strips. You could, if you wanted to, color it. I'm not gonna worry about that right now, because there's going to be some of the page showing. I am going to just glue this. So this is the top. This is a thicker piece than the other ones. I have cut it 7 3/8, and I'm going to put it real close to the top, just a little hairline showing. I'm going to turn this to see the bottom. And these pieces I've cut about 1/8 of an inch. Now my scoreboard, my paper trimmer, will cut that thin. I mean, use whatever means. And if you don't, if you're not able to cut chipboard that thin, did I do this right? Yeah, because I cut some longer than others. Although this looks a little bit too long, and I'm just going to simply grab some scissors and just take a little piece off. This is the bottom of the page. Now, you also can use dimensional adhesive. I have dimensional adhesive that's got black in it. It's very thin strips. I'm going to use that in certain places, but not everywhere. All right, let me go back to here. So I'm just seeing how big. Now, here's something else. If you wanted to, you could make this whole piece a shaker piece by adding dimensional adhesive or the chipboard, making sure you don't have any gaps, putting a layer of acetate on here, and then when you put it down, it's going to be raised, and you could make the whole thing a shaker, which would be fun, but I'm not going to do that. Number one, I don't have that many shaker pieces in my stash. Now you may. You may. All right, I'm just going to cut this down. I'm just going to go around the perimeter with some of this chipboard that I've cut into mostly 1/8 of an inch piece. If I had time, I would paint it blue just so you wouldn't notice it. All right, now this piece, which is going to go over where it says Hip Hip Hooray, I am going to make that a shaker element. So I am going to, I'm going to first grab a piece of acetate, and I know I have it, I just can't see it. And I'm going to just cut it. And I'm going to grab some double-sided tape. To put that down with. So, and you could make, there's so many options, so many options. You could, oh, that's pretty. You could make these all shakers if you wanted to. Or like I said, you could make the whole thing a shaker. I'm going to grab some 1/8 of an inch double-sided adhesive. I mean, I really just need a little bit just to hold down my acetate. So many options. I'd love to see what you guys do. Put it on the Scrap and Create Facebook group and tag me so I get to see it. Come on. Okay. And then I'll put this down. Covering that. All right, now I'm going to grab the double-sided adhesive. So it's black. I don't want it to show. So I'm going to put it about 1/8 of an inch away from the sides. Now, the chipboard and my double-sided foam adhesive are actually 2 different thicknesses. I'm not going to worry so much about it. It'll be okay. There we go. And there we go. Alrighty. And I chose the Hip Hip Hooray since that's the name of the collection. I just thought that would be fun to do. Okay, not going to do anything with this yet. First, I'm going to show you how I'm going to layer on some chipboard to keep this dimensional. Okay, so I cut some scrap chipboard to fill in the back of this. I'm doing that. I'm using, I guess it's medium weight. You could use fun foam as well, be lighter. And I probably could have done that. So I'm just trying not to put it right at the edge because I don't want it to be seen. And after I put down the bigger pieces, pieces, I cut down some 1/8 of an inch strip to just fill in between the smaller sections. Okay, let's see what it looks like. There we go. I love it because it's got 2 layers, but we're going to add more. So I have cut 2 strips, let me move these out of the way, of this blue paper. I have cut them 1 5/8 by 4 1/2. I'm going to grab my scoreboard and score at 2 1/4. Okay, we are going to add flaps to these 2. This one's just going to be raised just to add a little extra dimension. I'm adding a little bit of double-sided tape, and I am going to grab a magnet that I have that's broken. You may have those. If not, just use a regular magnet. It'll be pretty strong. So I've got one there. And one for over here. It's just 1/4 of a magnet. And then I'm going to take this piece that we folded and just glue it down on top of there in between the blue that just sort of gives you a guide on where to glue it. And you don't even need to use a magnet here if you don't want to. They're not very large flaps. They're not going to go anywhere. So there's a little bit of interactiveness for these pages. Now I am going to grab another piece of double-sided tape. That'll go there. I mean, you can feel where the magnet is. There's one there, one there. And there we go. And then add what picture came from that spot. I mean, if you want to, you could add other ones. We'll burnish that. Okay, and Make-A-Wish was here. Now this one, the Celebrate, I have another little piece of chipboard. There we go. I'm going to glue this onto the back of that, and this is just going to be yet another layer. So we have the layer that's down on the surface of the base page. We have this layer, because this is popped up, and this is a third layer. And in addition, we have these flaps. So let it go right like that. And then we have the shaker. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have much in the way of shaker elements, and I don't want anything too thick. So most of these are flat. They're just not very dimensional. I mean, if you guys have done shakers, you can probably figure out what you can use and what you can't. So mostly I have green. If I had more blue, I would add more blue. And then I'll peel off the backing of this. And then let's add some glue. Make sure all those sprinkles stay inside. Line it up with the bottom. And the side. And we're golden. Okay. And then we can grab the book. Make sure you've got the right orientation. And add this to the page. Perfect. All right. And there is our shaker page. Okay, we're going to use the companion page in the 12 by 12, but we're going to have to cut it in a particular way. So we're going to cut it across these score lines first. So right on that stitched line, all the way across for both of these. Which is, what is that going to be? About 4 1/8 from the bottom end. Okay. Now so for this piece, before we cut this bottom, we're going to cut on the stitch line. So the Celebrate With Me is going to be by itself. And then we'll cut this Hip Hip Hooray off, and again cut right on that stitched line. Okay, so there's one. Put that one aside. This one, we're going to cut the stitch line along the side. Okay. This one, we're going to cut the stitch line on the far right. And this one, we're going to cut the stitch line on both sides. But don't cut off the branding strip. I mean, if you did, it's not a big deal, but it just gives us a little extra room. Okay. Okay, so we have this one. It's got hip hip hooray, life is better with friends, and the one with the house with that border on the side. This one has 3. It starts with the bear with the present, then hip hip hooray, make a wish. We have this one that says celebrate with me with a border on the bottom. And this one, bring my cutting board, I'm going to just cut on the stitch line to separate the lots of love. And this we won't need. So I'll grab my scoreboard. And so if for some reason, if you cut off the branding strip, that's okay. You'll just score at that stitched line. If you didn't cut off the branding strip, then we're going to score it right at 1/2 inch. So there should not be any of the white showing. This one I'm going to turn this way, and we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. We're going to score it at 3 1/4, and we're going to score it at 6. Half an inch. I'm moving this over a little, about 1/16 of an inch, so I can get this, stitch line right at the 1/2 inch. So that's 1/2, then 3 1/4, then I'm moving the stitch line right at 6, and then at 8 3/4. And I don't remember if I told you, but this piece we're going to score on that stitch line at the bottom. Put that aside. Let's cut at the stitch line at the top of these 3 remaining pieces. Oops, that did not cut straight. Okay, that's better. And then we'll cut these at the stitch line. Okay, so we have the 3 cut aparts that we got from the bottom. You can decide which one you want to go in the front center. So we've got, this one says celebrate, so I'm not going to have another celebrate. Best day ever, lots of love. What I'm going to do is have just because in the center, celebrated on the back of that, and then big hugs. So this one I'm going to glue right on top of this piece that has the 4. So we folded it that way. So that's just going to go right on the top of that one. So the intention of this page is so you can put your photos on the back here, but I wanted this to be so you had an image in the front. All right, we're still not done with those. All right, so this is going to go on the front, and this is going to go on this piece that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So we'll just center it on here. And then we will put that on this piece, which is 3 1/2 by 4 1/2. And that's going to go on a piece of cardstock. 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. Lots of layers, I know. Okay, we'll turn that over. And you could put another blue, but I had green and it doesn't matter. I mean, you'll see it, but it doesn't matter. And then this, but don't rush and put the other one on because we're going to put a magnet on. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. That's the base page. This will go over to the right, about 1.5 inches from the top. This will go to the left, about 1.5 inches from the bottom. This will go to the top, about 1.5 inches over. And this will go on the bottom. And then this piece will go on the center, holding it all down. So I am going to take a magnet. You know, and I think I might rescore this on that line. I think I'm going to do that. Just because it'll give us a little more room for where the magnet's going to be. So if you were real careful to make sure you saved the branding strip. Sorry, didn't need it, but that's okay. All right, so right in the center is where it's going to be. So this is good for those basic gray large magnets. All right, now that we've got that, let's put these on the sides. You know what, let me just double check one more time and make sure I got it where I want it. That goes there, that goes there. This goes here. So you can do it in such a way that there's no extra layers. Yep, that works. And once I have the placement, I will add glue to the tabs. And it's all right if they overlap the magnet. But add glue to the tabs on the underside and get them all glued down. Yep. And then, let's move all this aside. See where that's going to end up. Right there. And we'll add this to the back. So we'll put all these down, put this on top, and that stays just like that. So we'll go ahead and add glue onto here and add it into the book. All right, aren't they great pages? Different than what you normally see in a mini album, but they came out really cute. So at this stage, you know what you're supposed to do. Go hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And then let's get ready and we'll move on to the last page, the back of page 6 and the inside back cover.